Okay, so welcome everybody. Welcome all our Torah Time viewers. Tonight we are learning Le'ilui Nishmat, the victims of Jersey City, which is Moshe Helsh ben Shalom and Leah Mindel bat Binyamin Helsh, as well as for Refuah Shlema to Yecheskel ben Tila. Okay, so topic at hand, and this is most likely going to be our last Mashiach series. I don't know if that's sad or hooray to people, if it's like too much already, but most likely, I haven't decided if I'll continue, but I'm leaning more towards this being the last one, but I'll have to put like ... for now, as we all know in my history, where I start series again, 2 years later. But in any case, the final aspect of this is, so what will be, so like, we spoke about like what's going to happen before Mashiach comes, and all the pretty much many details that we've given on what's going to happen, anywhere ranging from the era that Mashiach is coming close to when Mashiach actually comes, to the war of Gog and Magog, to resurrection. Now, generally, when people hear Mashiach, and opening us up, I know I'm not allowed to ask questions, and people don't like interruptions, but it's just if you were to guess, what would be the most requested topic on Mashiach? Would it be, you could look at anything from resurrection to World War III to Gog and Magog, which is technically the same thing, hopefully, maybe not, I don't know, I'm speaking too much, or the era before Mashiach, the suffering before Mashiach. What do you think people listen to the most? People want to listen to the most?
Resurrection.
Resurrection, Gog and Magog?
What's going to happen? What's
going to happen afterwards? That's interesting. Usually I think that's the least one. You mean what's going to happen after Mashiach comes?
Yeah.
That's usually what I hear the least. Whenever people ask me to speak, whenever people ask in general, you look at rabbis when they speak about Mashiach, what do they speak about? The Mashiach is about to come. Meaning that, look at all the Gemarot that speak about what's going to be right before Mashiach comes. All the suffering, all the troubles, and then they plug in all the current events and how we see that Mashiach is really by the doorstep. But maybe for you it's different, but for what I see is that I almost never saw, maybe I saw one class on this, like what's going to be when Mashiach comes. And it's very interesting. So let's say you have people that are interested in resurrection. Let's say you have people that are interested in Gog and Magog and World War III, or you can have, in the end of days type of topic. But how come no one's interested right when Mashiach comes? Except for your group, because your group is super spiritual, so, which I agree with. That should be the number one, like question. So what will it be like? And I was thinking about it, and one of the ideas that came to my mind is people generally like change. Right? And we spoke about this before. This is a motto of a lot of politicians. The way that they present themselves to sell you to something is something that's going to change. And it's not really politicians, it's really anything in general. If you're buying a product, you want to buy something that's, it's new, it's different. So an example, you look at smartphones. Smartphones, they went through a crazy transformation process since, the first iPhone, which is like, I think, is that what the first real smartphone was? I don't know, and I don't care. But imagine the first smartphone, and when it went through a transition until finally became to like where it is today, where did the big transitions come into? From, let's say, from when you had, a physical keyboard to you had no keyboard, and all of a sudden you have like a better camera. At this point in time, like how much can you zoom in already? Like how good can the camera be? It doesn't make that much of a difference. And you notice it's sort of technically like plateaued a little bit. And they're trying to, how do they keep on trying, like the entire tech department, what are they our world, what they try to do is try to get that edge. So like what are they gonna do, like a screen that's gonna cover everything? Wow. So you're not going to have that millimeter of a godforsaken metal line going across it, or that you have an even better camera, even better. Like it's so much like you're trying too hard already. Like that's it. We've reached to like then they try the folding phones, and then they try they keep on trying to do something else. Why? Because what sells people is something different. Something different is what's interesting. It's what I want. The newest technology sells right in the beginning. But as people get used to it, then whatever, it's not as interesting anymore. What's the difference between the phone that I have now and the phone that I will get? Of course, everybody needs to upgrade, and regardless, they're going to buy stuff. But the idea behind it is change. Change is what sells. That's why politicians go and they sell change. Technology, or even when you look at any advertising company, it's the point of something different or something new or something that you need. It's something that's changed. So when people look at the Mashiach concept, they look at, so what's going to change now? But really, they look at just really the beginning stages, meaning that what's going to change. So let's see what's going to happen, like the war, Gog and Magog, huge topic. People love to hear these types of topics like the war, destruction, death, terror. We're very sad people. What can I tell you? As a human race, not as a, and then you have, because generally, what type of news sell? The bad news sell, the terrible stuff sell. So we're interested in the bad and the destructive and the things that's going to change. But what happens once the dust settles? And Mashiach is going to be here. Then like, don't you want to know what's going to be then?
Go back to the same thing.
It's going to go back to what same thing?
Meaning the world is still going to run like it is.
Right, but how?
Society will have a different outcome.
So the question is, so is that all that it is? Huh?
Some of them. They're probably going to be bored afterwards.
They're afraid they're going to be bored and be so mundane.
There's nothing to look forward to. People are always like, Mashiach should come, Mashiach should come.
So why do people, very good. So why do people ask the Mashiach should come? Generally, you have, I have to tread very carefully. So you have people that say they lost someone they love. So why do they want Mashiach to come? Do they want it because it's for God, it's a spreading of the word, the whole world will fill with God's knowledge, and everybody's going to follow God's path? Or is it that they want to see their loved one again? And again, like, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. Like, we should all be reunited by the people that, that unfortunately that we've lost. But at the same point in time, what is the purpose of it? There are a lot of people that they get interested in something because they think, okay, maybe I'll gain something out of this. Like maybe right, so there's something about the bigger picture. Okay, so now let's try to understand. So today,
It's supposed to be like the way that the world was before Adam.
very good. Spoiler alert. Shh, don't listen. But yes. So, okay, so the way that we're going to go tonight, Be'ezrat Hashem, is we're going to give a bunch of facts, a bunch of information on what's going to be when Mashiach comes, and then there's a lot of going to be, maybe initially some sort of confusion, and we'll try to answer that as we go along, and you'll see how there's sometimes when you learn Torah, there are certain things that appear to be conflicting, and they appear to be contradicting. But that's usually on a face value. Once you do a little bit of digging, you don't have to usually do too much digging. All of a sudden, everything makes perfect sense. So that's what we'll also try to uncover tonight. Okay, so what's going to be when Mashiach comes? It's going to be a world that's going to be very similar initially to our world, but it's going to be, can we call it Earth 2.0? I don't know. Let's call it, what is it, the beta version? So it's actually going to be the initial. This is the way that the world was intended to be. It's going to be a world without any suffering, without any worry. People will live long and happy lives. And the Rambam also brings down that obviously, the Mashiach will rebuild the Bet HaMikdash. There's going to be sacrifices. The Yovel and Shemitah, the sabbatical and the Jubilee, I believe is the funny translation. I don't know whoever came up with that, but I love it. It sounds very comical. It could be I have to stop myself. Okay, so the Shemitah and Yovel is going to come back. There is also going to be an increase in intelligence and wisdom to the extent that the entire world will desire to know one thing and one thing only, the truth and the knowledge of God. This is what it says in Yeshayahu, chapter 11, verse 9. The entire world will be filled with the knowledge of Hashem. Now what that means is that if somebody goes and opens up a Torah scroll, now I'm not talking about opening up an art scroll chumash where everything is given for you. I'm talking about you open up an art scroll, you'll start learning it, and all of a sudden the deepest secrets that generations and generations never be able to reveal will all of a sudden come revealed to you, like knowledge of that is unprecedented. I have somebody that I'm close to. I may have mentioned this before. I don't know. I haven't asked him if I could say this publicly, but. A little bit of a morbid thing. You want to know how he wants to die? I don't know if anybody thought about that. Yeah, like how he wants to die with an overflow of knowledge. He wants to have so much knowledge, and that's how he dies. I don't know. I didn't ask any questions, but it sounds very interesting. But you know what's going to happen when Mashiach comes? Not that you're going to die with so much knowledge, but there's going to be so much knowledge and information that's going to be opened up to you that you're going to feel like you were blind your entire life. You're entirely like, what? Like you are living this way the entire time. Yeah, like in a bubble, exactly. You're in a sense, you're in a place that you never realize the deeper secrets that exist right in front of you. Now, this is not only for the Jewish nation. It's going to be for the entire world. Mashiach is going to prove the entire world that this is going to be an end of all the evil and all the sin. In fact, the way that the world wars are going to end is that all of a sudden people are going to perceive God. And they're going to see the knowledge and understanding of God that all the, let's call it the Narishkeit. What's the the nonsense, thank you, that exists, it all falls apart. They'll be like, so there won't be any wars. There won't be any time, there won't be any famine, there won't be any jealousy, there won't be any hatred. It'll be like literally utopia. It'll be a place of pure goodness. Now the Rambam writes that the reason that we yearn for Mashiach is not before this utopian type of society. Obviously it's nice, but the main essence that we yearn for Mashiach is that we'll be able to serve God without any troubles, without any issues, and fully delve ourselves into serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, when Mashiach comes, so the concept of who Mashiach is and what he is, there are many people that they think that what is Mashiach? Mashiach is an aspect that will be from like the greatest rabbi, that everybody knows who he is. He's going to come and be like, oh, that's Mashiach. Of course that's Mashiach. But in essence, really, what we learn is that it doesn't necessarily have to be like that. It's very possible and very likely that who is Mashiach going to be? From a family that you've never heard before. From a person that you've never heard before, and he's going to rise, and he's going to be Mashiach. And this Mashiach is going to be greater in many aspects, except for prophecy, than Moshe Rabbeinu. The Zohar says that it's actually the neshama, the soul of Moshe Rabbeinu as well. So it also brings down also that's part of David HaMelech as well. But the level of prophecy, Moshe Rabbeinu is going to be higher. Mashiach will be wiser than Solomon, than King Solomon, which I don't want to go into a rampant side discussion of the wisdom of who Shlomo HaMelech had and what he had, but he'll be wiser even than Shlomo HaMelech. The identity of Mashiach is not going to be based off like how many miracles he could perform and how many fish he could create or how many wine he could pour, whatever, I don't know, whatever, the fake, all the religions that say they save 5, it doesn't matter anything like that. The only aspect of what Mashiach means, if he's going to be Mashiach, is if he accomplishes what he's supposed to be accomplished, gathering all the Jewish people to Eretz Yisrael. He's going to go and build a Bet HaMikdash. Everything's going to be reinstated. If he lives and survives, that's Mashiach ben David. If not, then it's not Mashiach. If he dies, he kills, then it's not Mashiach. So now, the question is will you be ready for it? And that's not like are you ready? It's going to be any day. No, the question is like when it comes. Like, will you be ready? And the Metzudas Torah brings down that Mashiach is going to come without warning at all. Like, you're not going to be ready. The Baal Shem Tov brings down that you're going to be going throughout your regular day. Right? You're going to be doing whatever it is that you're doing on your regular day. You're going to be, I know I'm outdated, but I'm going to say it anyways because I don't know what's going on nowadays. You're going to be playing Candy Crush. And or the newest other waste of time gadget, and all of a sudden everyone's gonna be like, Mashiach is here. I'd be like, I didn't finish this matching game. I don't know, and all of a sudden you realize you're not a 6-year-old and you have a life and maybe you have some personality and things that you need to do, but Mashiach is here. Like, that's how it's going to come. It's not going to come like be like, well, Mashiach is coming any minute. You heard what's happening? Yeah, I hear Mashiach rustling in the in the background. There's like Yeshiva World News is saying something about it. They're hearing something. No, Mashiach is just going to come and be like, what? Even Rabbi Chaim Volozhin goes and brings down and be like, he'll be doing his normal things, and his wife will say like, Mashiach is here. And be like, are you sure? Like it's going to be so surprising to everybody. It's going to come so suddenly, which is actually a little bit scary.
So it's going to be in the news, people are going to know about it, and yet we're going to be like, oh, he's here.
So the question is that what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, the timeline. So it's very possible that Mashiach will reveal himself and be like, wait, what? And then like all of a sudden then there's going to be the gathering of the exile. Then the Beis HaMikdash is going to be rebuilt. So it doesn't necessarily have to mean that things are going to happen slowly or fast. What it means is that once Mashiach's come, it's going to take you by surprise. Does that make sense? You still seem some confused.
No, I'm thinking like could be like after Mashiach comes, and he'll
spoiler. Okay, hold on that. We're going to speak about that. Okay, so there's actually 2 aspects of that, and stay tuned. I don't know, whatever the right words to say in this situation. But yeah, we're going to speak about that. There's a little bit of a different paths that could happen. So Rav Sadia goes and says that just like Koresh, which was who initiated the building of the second Bet HaMikdash, did so suddenly, so too Mashiach will be a sudden like a sudden thing. The Gemara in Sanhedrin, page 97a, says that there are 3 things that are going to happen suddenly. What are the 3 things that happen suddenly? Number 1, you find the lost object. You don't anticipate to find the lost. You have people that metal detectors, right? They take these things with headphones. And they walk up and down. Do people still do this? I don't know. They walk down up and down the beach or what, and they're looking. they're looking, I don't know if they're stealing, well, let's try to be nice. They're trying to find lost objects or treasures or whatever it is that they're doing, right? So they're walking up and down, they're trying to find it. Generally, how do you find a lost object? You don't go looking for it. You're not a treasure hunter. What you do is you just happen to find it. So when you find something, it happens just suddenly. What else happens by suddenly? The Gemara says a scorpion bite. Now, I think I speak for the majority of the population. You don't usually hold scorpions in your hands and be like, well, what's it going to be? Oh, look, its tail is going up. I think he likes me. And then, ouch. It doesn't usually happen by that. Usually the way that it works is that it comes suddenly. You don't see a scorpion because you're a normal person, and you don't hold a scorpion because you're a normal person, and the scorpion doesn't usually bite you. But when it does, it's a surprise, and it's not something that you're expected. And what's the final thing the Gemara says? And by the way, I paraphrase a lot of that. The Gemara says just a scorpion bite. So everything else was on me, right? The Gemara, a sneeze is, well, sneeze you can realize that it's coming, and then if God forbid someone says God bless you, then you lose the sneeze. There's rules to these things. You know, right before, you have never had this before, right before someone's going like, and someone says, God bless you, and be like, I can't believe you just did this to me. I wish upon you all the blessings. Okay, so now, the Moshe Rabbeinu, there's a lot of parallel things that happened when Moshe redeemed the Jewish nation and what's going to happen with Mashiach. Now, the question is will there be an opposition to Mashiach? Will the people be like, well, you know, he's not my Mashiach, you know? So it's a very it's a good yes and no and possibly. So let's try to understand that. Yes and no and possibly. So in the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, when he went and he redeemed the Jewish nation out of Egypt, Moshe Rabbeinu, God tells Moshe Rabbeinu, go and redeem to get the Jewish people out of exile. So what did Moshe Rabbeinu says? Like, why would they believe me? Like, why should they listen to me? So Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't slandering the Jewish people. He wasn't saying like, oh, they're not going to trust that there is a redeemer. Rather, he's saying, no, logically, like, why should they believe me? Like, why should somebody go? If somebody goes and says like, I'm the Mashiach, you shouldn't just believe them. Otherwise, you will have a crazy amount of, we'll have a Mashiach institution. Like there are so many Mashiachs out there that claim to be Mashiach. Yeah. So really what Moshe Rabbeinu is saying is that it's not a bad thing, but really we do. It's not like we're going to test Mashiach, but Mashiach has to prove himself. There is going to be a level of proof that he has to give. That even in the time of Egypt, that the Jewish people, they wanted Mashiach. It wasn't like, Baruch Hashem, nowadays, we live in a place that yes, we're suffering, yes, there's anti-Semitism, yes, there's problems, but we live, we're not under slavery. I mean, depends on what you find slavery, after your desires and money, then maybe, yeah. But generally speaking, we're not under slavery. We're able to live our lives. So we're not, I hope I'm going to say this right. We're not yearning for redemption as much as the slaves yearn the redemption. Tread carefully, on those lines. Because, yeah, exactly. If you put somebody in the corner, then they want out more. So even in the time of, and again, we should all, yearn for the redemption just like they did when they were in the corner, when, in the time of Mitzrayim, in the time of Egypt. However, even when they wanted it so badly, they were being tortured. There were kids who were being murdered. They were being murdered. And they wanted it. They still went and they said, Moshe Rabbeinu, like, prove it to us. How do we know that you're the Mashiach? How do you know that? And he had to go and prove it. So too, when Mashiach comes, it will have to go under some sort of scrutiny. And again, that's not going to be like how much magic tricks he can perform. Rather, it's going to be, but is he going to accomplish what he needs to go and accomplish? The Rambam, however, says that once Mashiach is revealed, no one will question him. So the question is, how do you understand this? Is people going to question him or are people not going to question him? So we could say, yeah. So that's one answer that I also thought of, that in the beginning people are going to question him, but once everybody knows about it, no one's going to question it. However, there's a different interpretation that I see. This is based off the Archaim, that if the Jews merit redemption, then no one's going to question him. What does it mean that if the Jews merit redemption? Meaning that if Mashiach is going to come early, if the Jewish nation are going to follow the Torah completely the way that they're supposed to, then what's going to happen? Then Mashiach is going to come early, and if it comes early, it's going to be that Mashiach is going to be very, very obvious and no one's going to question. However, if it comes at the end of days, meaning that the time has come where either the world is going to be destroyed or Mashiach is going to come, meaning that's the final time, that's when Mashiach comes, that's when and people are going to go and start questioning it. And this is something we're going to see a lot today, B'ezrat Hashem, is that Mashiach can come either early or late. And if it comes early, there's going to be a very, very different way that it's going to come as opposed to if it comes late. Whether it's going to be through miracles, there's a lot of discussion that's that.
Early or late, or early or it's destined?
Early or final, not late. You're right. late is not a bright. It's like, well,
Last resort.
last resort. Yeah, I like that. The last resort, the final destination. That sounds morbid. The last resort. Let's see about that. That's a good one. Yeah. So what?
Final countdown.
Yeah. So now let's move on to the next subject matter on this is nature, animals. How will nature and animals be during the time of Mashiach comes? Is it going to be exactly the same that it is right now, or can you have a pet tiger? And I'm not talking about people that live in Saudi Arabia. I'm talking about the normal, like what's going to be during that time. So there's a pasuk in Vayikra, chapter 26, verse 6, that says, "Ve'ishbati chaya ra'a min haaretz." I will remove the wild beast from the land. And there's also a pasuk from Yeshayahu, Isaiah, chapter 11, verse 6, that says that the wolf shall live together with the lamb. What's that kid story with the? There's nothing. Oh, that's not a lamb. That's a pig, no? Oh, no, that could be lambs. Yeah. The boy who cried wolf. No, it's the boy who cried wolf. Right? So wolves and lamb generally don't coexist peacefully together. But yet, Isaiah says that what? That when Mashiach comes, they're going to live together. So there's a lot of interpretations of what this means. The Rambam, Maimonides, goes and says this is something that we understand as follows. That's not literally, but more figuratively. That Mashiach comes, the Jewish people are known as the people like lamb, like very calm, very, whatever it is. And the Gentile nations are known as wolves. Now, what it means is that when Mashiach comes, the wolves and the lamb will live peacefully together, meaning that the Jewish nations and the non-Jewish nations will live together peacefully, meaning that there's not going to be war, there's not going to be anti-Semitism, everyone's going to be following one path. That's how the Rambam goes and explains it. The Radvaz goes and explains it a little bit differently. He says that, what does it mean that wolf and the lamb will by the way, when I say wolf, it means that all predatory animals. Lamb means all, domesticate, what is it? Domesticated animals? It's not a cat or dog. What's the regular, not predatory animals. Right. So the Radvaz goes and learns that in Eretz Yisrael is going to have a different nature than throughout the world. In Eretz Yisrael, the wolf and the lamb will dwell together. However, throughout the entire world, nature will be as it was before. The Radak goes and says that no, even in Eretz Yisrael, the wolf will have the same nature and the lamb will have the same nature, but they will not damage anybody. Somehow they will hold themselves back, whatever it is, and they're not going to damage anybody. The Ramban goes and says that everything will indeed change. The wolves, all the predatory animals will become peaceful animals. But the question is that we know that when Mashiach comes, the Rambam brings this down also, that what's going to be the big difference, based off of Gemara, that the only difference that's going to be is that there's not going to be a subjugation of the nations. The nations are not going to subjugate us, the Jewish people are going to be free to serve God. So and the way that we understand this is that the world will be Mashiach, the world will be exactly the same. So how do we understand that the world will be exactly the same? And the answer is, the Ramban says, is that what's going to be the world is going to go and revert back to the time before the sin of Adam HaRishon, which somebody in this, okay, yes, thank you. So the world will return back, so meaning it's not going to change. It's just going to revert back to the way that it was before. And the way that it was before the sin of Adam HaRishon, that the predatory animals were not predatory animals. They were just regular animals. They were not ones that fight. So it will be it's going to go revert back to that, and the wolf and the lamb will dwell, peacefully together. And this is that the Maral also goes and explains it, that in days of Mashiach, the harvest was sown and reaped on the same day. You were able to, everything was happening like instantly. It's crazy what, just to think about it. I can't even begin to explain how the natural process of this would work through scientific, understanding. But there's things like everything will happen naturally. And we'll soon see in what aspects also that it means. Now, in regarding to the Bet HaMikdash, the Yerushalayim is destined to be enlarged. And we can actually see it now. If anybody here has been to Israel, they know that generally what was Yerushalayim? Now Yerushalayim is known as the Old City. There's an old city, and then there's the general Yerushalayim. But what was Yerushalayim? The old city. The old city was tiny. You could walk that. You could walk the Jewish part very quickly. I don't know about how big the actual size is, but you could walk it very easily. But now what Yerushalayim is, it's how long it'll take you to walk. You could spend hours in it walking from side to side. So when Mashiach comes, Yerushalayim is going to expand even more. How far? It's going to reach Damascus. Damascus is in Syria. Very, very far. We'll soon see how far it's going to be and how large Yerushalayim is going to expand to. And Yerushalayim is going to be the capital of all the nations of the world. That's going to be where everybody's going to go and to come into. I was thinking about what exists nowadays as the capital. I don't know if there is a capital. You could say America, like Washington, but everyone travels around. But when Mashiach comes, the capital is going to be Yerushalayim. And what it's going to be is that every nation that oppressed the Jewish people, they're going to see the rejoicing of the Jewish people. They're going to see the building, they're going to be upset about it. It's going to be difficult for them. And the Tana of Devei Eliyahu goes and says that each one of those that oppress the Jewish people, they're going to die. And they're never going to return back into the world. They're not going to be resurrected. But the nations that didn't oppress the Jewish people, the nations that were good to the Jewish people, it almost sounds like trash talking. I don't know what the, but this is what the Midrashim tell us. This is what Chazal tell us. That the nation that did not oppress the Jewish people, they're going to ones that are going to survive, and they're also going to be the ones that are going to be able, they're going to work the land, they're going to be the farmers, they're going to be the ones that dwell in the more in the physical aspect of the world. The Talmud Yerushalmi goes and says like this. The question is that when is the Bet HaMikdash going to be rebuilt? Is it going to be rebuilt before Mashiach comes or after Mashiach comes? And there's difference of opinion. And this is a lot of things that you see. There's a difference of opinion. Yeah?
When we say when Mashiach comes, is that like how do we know it's here? Is that the shofar, and then is the person just going to get up and be like, I'm Mashiach?
So how do you know the Mashiach is here? The initial, so we know Mashiach is going to initially reveal himself in Israel, in Yerushalayim.
That means a person is going to get up and say,
yeah, someone's going to get up. I don't know how it's going to be, if you're going to get a WhatsApp text and be like, urgent. But it's one of those things that you'll know.
The whole sky is going to be.
It's just like it's going to be known.
But doesn't it say there's Eliyahu is going to knock on your door, or there's a shofar going to blow?
Yes, there's going to be a day, there's going to be a great shofar. So maybe you could listen for the shofar. Maybe if you're listening to music, you won't hear the shofar unless you listen to music. I don't know. I don't know what's going to be. But one thing.
We will be able to know if it's Mashiach if one of the things is if he builds this.
Right, but when Mashiach reveals himself, that's very likely it's going to be before all these things happen. So you will know. Don't worry about you don't have to search throughout the entire news maybe this is Mashiach. It's one of those things that don't go looking for him, he'll come looking for you. Yeah, Bezrat Hashem will know. So the Talmud Yerushalmi brings down that the Bet HaMikdash is going to build before Mashiach comes. However, the Rambam brings down the Mashiach will come first and then he'll build the Bet HaMikdash. And really, when we think about it, which one makes more sense? The first Mashiach comes, and then the Bet HaMikdash will be rebuilt. Why? Because every day, we know one of the Animamin is that you have to anticipate Mashiach coming every day. So if we need to wait till Mashiach builds a Bet HaMikdash, so how can we anticipate him every day? With Mashiach, the Bet HaMikdash is not built. So how do we understand this conflict? So this, like many of the other conflicts in regards to Mashiach, we understand as follows. Very, very simple understanding that you plug this formula in, it answers almost majority of the questions regarding to the conflicts on Mashiach. That if Mashiach comes early, then what's going to be is Mashiach is going to come first, and then there's going to be the building of the Bet HaMikdash. However, if Mashiach comes, what do we say, the final destination? Last resort. If it's going to come to the last resort, then what's it going to be? Then it's going to be in a sense that there are the temple could be rebuilt first, and then Mashiach is actually going to come. So there's two aspects that you could look at, at this. And this is also when you're speaking about the building of the Bet HaMikdash, how is it going to come? There are many people that learned when they were younger that the Bet HaMikdash is going to descend from heaven. There's going to be a fire, Bet HaMikdash is going to descend from heaven. At the same point in time, it says that it's going to be a physical, a building of the Bet HaMikdash. So the Aruch LaNer goes and explains as follows. It says that really there's going to be a physical building of the Bet HaMikdash, but its spiritual counterpart will actually fall down from heaven. And so there's really a both aspect of it, because we know everything in this world has both a spiritual aspect and a physical aspect. Look at the human body, has a physical body and then a spiritual soul. So the Bet HaMikdash also is going to have a physical aspect and a spiritual aspect. So one is going to be built and one is going to come down from heaven. Okay, so this is the Gemara in Bava Batra, and on page 75b. And I was actually thinking if I should say this or not, just because of probably the amount of questions that I'm going to get to this. I'm just going to say it, and I'm going to tell you beforehand what went in here. I don't know. It's crazy. What's these specific numbers? I don't know, but just listen to what the Gemara says. The Gemara says, first of all, that in this world, if you want to go to Yerushalayim, you can come to Yerushalayim. In the next world, you have to be invited only. Meaning that, what are those types of parties that you could only come? VIP. Is that what called VIP? Okay. Whatever it is, a type of party, when Mashiach comes, it's going to be like, are you on the list or not? Right? They're going to be bouncers in front of Yerushalayim and be like, what's your name? And be like, you keep the 613? What's the password? Torah? You're in. All right, I don't know if that's the password, whatever. Okay, so anyways, so now, in the future, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will go and add to Yerushalayim. Here's the numbers. Figuratively, literally, I'm just going to give it to you. There's going to be added to Yerushalayim 169,000 gardens. 210,000 towers, 146,000 buildings, 345,690 smaller buildings. The Kaveh Yashar goes on and goes and says the Bet HaMikdash is destined to be 18 mil by 18 mil. Now, mil is not short for miles. Mil is a Talmudic a measurement. So, but if you do the calculation, 1 mil actually equals 1 kilometer. So 18 mil by 18 mil actually equals 11.18 miles by 11.18 miles. So it's destined to be, the Bet HaMikdash is supposed to be that size. 11.18 miles by 11.1. The size is crazy. Like it's, I don't know if we understand. Exactly. I was just, if like you want to walk from like here to like the beach, it's like it's ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know. So again, what, when, where, and how? Don't ask questions. I'm just giving you the information. It is going to be surrounded by walls. One wall is going to be a silver. One wall is going to be out of gold. One wall is going to be out of precious stones. And these walls will have 1,488 towers made out of gems. And between every two towers, there's going to be 120 gates, each which also will be made out of precious stones. And there will also be 2,003 pools of spring water that emerge from the mountain, which is going to be around where the temple stands. Then Yerushalayim will go, and we remember that we said it's going to expand till Damascus. How big will Yerushalayim be? It will be 400 parsa by 400 parsa. 1 parsa equals 400 mil, which if you translate it to today, will be 994 miles by 994 miles, which is very, very large. Now, are you going to ask me a bunch of questions? I don't know. I'm just going to tell you right. Just don't ask me. I don't know. We'll see what, like the Rambam says, we'll see like how it will be, when it will be. But these are the numbers that the Gemara, the Kaveh Yashar brings down. So now, because they eat so much, or no? Okay, spiritually, no. Because maybe before Adam Alishon they were bigger, right? So I don't know. I don't know if we're all of a sudden going to grow. If we, I mean, men will appreciate that. But I don't know if women would want that. Then they have to buy a whole new wardrobe. Whatever. It's difficult things to speak about that. So in any case, what about the commandments? This is something that we spoke about in the 13 Principles of Faith, I think, series we spoke about. That what's going to be when the commandments? What about the Torah? The Torah mitzvot. Once Mashiach comes, what do we have the Bet HaMikdash? Is the commandments going to stay, or is it not going to stay? So let's try to do a quick understanding of this, and then we could move on to the next part of this. The Gemara Nida, page 61b, goes and speaks about Kalaim. Kalaim, so one aspect of Kalaim is shatnez. Shatnez is when you have wool and linen together. We're not allowed to wear wool and linen together. So now, the Gemara goes and says that if somebody has a beged, a piece of cloth that has wool and linen, they're not allowed to even sell it to a non-Jew. They're not allowed to even use it as a saddle for their donkey. However, they are allowed to use it as burial shrouds for the dead. So the Gemara, there's one opinion from the Gemara that learns over here that if somebody is allowed to be buried in something that is klein, something that is shatnez, meaning that in the future the commandments will be annulled. Because you see that he's able to go and be buried in something that's forbidden while they're alive. So now, there are ways to understand this, the way that we spoke about it previously. And what that means is that you can look at it two aspects. What does it mean in the future? In the future can mean two aspects. In the future can mean when Mashiach comes, after the resurrection of the dead, or it can mean when they're dead right now. So meaning that right now, let's say a person is passed away. The question is he liable or is she liable to follow the Torah? Meaning, can she or he be buried in shatnez? So one option, we can think about it like this and say, like, when you're dead, you don't have to follow the Torah because you're dead. You don't have to follow the Torah. You can be buried in things that you're not allowed to be war. But once you're alive, then all of a sudden you're going to be required against in the laws. So does it mean that in the future the commandments are going to be annulled? What does it mean in the future? In the future means when you die? Or in the future does it mean when Mashiach comes? It's a good question. How do we understand this? So the Ritva goes and says that when Mashiach comes, we're no longer going to be obligated to go and follow the commandments. Rather, we're going to do it voluntary. Now, what does that mean, obligated and voluntary? The understanding of this is as follows, that in order to have a commandment, you have to have two separate entities. You have to have, I don't know the terminology of this, a commander and a commandee. Does that make sense? Yeah, I guess so, right? So you have to have two aspects. But if you're one entity, as long as you're not schizophrenic, you cannot have a commander and a commandee. You cannot say, well, I'll tell you what you're going to do. Well, yeah, what am I going to do? I am going to go and I'm going to go to the gym. I'll be like, well, you're not. You're going to eat some peanut butter and jelly. And that, you can't have two aspects in one body. You could have, if it's separate, you could have it. So what's going to be, nowadays, we see God as a separate entity. But really, the essence of it is what? Is that God is really the same. It's part of everything. Everything is God. But nowadays, we see it as different. So nowadays, we see it as two separate entities. You can have a commander and a commandee. However, when Mashiach comes, there's going to be the entire world will be filled with the knowledge of God. And everyone's going to realize that everything is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Every aspect of every molecule of everything is all God. So when you have everything of all God, there's not going to be an aspect of a commandee and a commander. There's not going to be two aspects. Everybody's going to be united in a sense that we know that we're all part of God. We're all part of one entity. And if we're all part of one entity, then there's not going to be an obligation, because the only time you can have an obligation is when you have two entities. But once Mashiach comes and everybody's going to be one entity, so there's not going to be a commandment. So what is it going to be? It's going to be voluntary. But rather, not that the Torah is going to change, not that the Torah is going to say, oh no, you don't have to do this, we're going to have to do it. But the understanding of how we do it, it's not going to be called a commandment, it's going to be called something called voluntary.
So it's not a chok. Like we understand it, you're saying?
Not the fact that doesn't matter whether we understand it or whether we don't understand it. The aspect is that we... We're not. There's not going to be the definition obligated will make no sense, is what I'm saying.
We'll want to. Because
we'll want to. Yeah, we'll want to. It's not going to be. But even more than that, there's not going to be obligated. Is not going to be a word that Merriam-Webster is going to be like. She's going to have to erase it from the dictionary. It's not going to be there anymore. Whatever. I don't know. We spoke about this before, right? Yeah. Whatever it is, right? It's not going to be. It's not going to be a concept that we understand anymore, because there's not going to be an obligation. The obligation means two entities.
There's no
Right, there will be no Yetzirah, right. So, even furthermore, what about the Nevi'im and the Ketuvim? The Gemara in Yerushalmi goes and says that Rabbi Yochanan says that in the future, the Nevi'im and the Ketuvim, the prophets and the writings are going to be annulled, and the Midrash Esther says except for Megillat Esther, for the Purim story. So meaning that when Mashiach comes, we're going to have the 5 books of Moses and the Megillat Esther. So how do we understand that? The Rabbi goes and says that doesn't mean that it's going to be annulled, that it's going to be cease to exist, but rather we're going to cease to read these books in public, and it's going to be a completely different understanding. Okay, we're going to have to skip a little bit. So the Midrash Mishlei goes also and says that Yom Kippur the Day of Atonement is also going to be is going to remain in that day. It's never going to be annulled. The Radvaz goes and says that what does it mean that it's going to be annulled? It's not that it's actually going to remove. It's not going to be there anymore. What? So how do we understand it? No. We're talking about here. Right now we're talking about Yom Tov. Regarding to the different Sfarim, and it means that one interpretation we said is that not going to be read in public anymore. That's what we understand. And why, when, where, and how? Let's just try to clarify this a little bit. But the Radvaz goes and says that what does it mean that the festivals, the Yom Tovim, are going to be annulled? Meaning that the Yom Tovim. What does Yom Tov mean? Yom Tov means a good day. Meaning it's going to be a festive day. It's a day of happiness. A day of that's above the level of the happiness and the level of where we are in the weekday. When Mashiach comes, all the days are going to be like Yom Tovim. So there's not going to be a differentiation between like Sukkot and any other day, because it's just like Sukkot, you're always happy. Just like Pesach, you're always happy. Just like you have the Zman Simchat, you're always going to be on such a high level. You're always going to be on that high level, so you're not going to see a difference between the regular weekday and the Yom Tovim. They're going to be equally as joyous. The Barbanel goes and says that also gives a different interpretation. What does it mean that the holidays are going to be annulled? Not that there's going to be something that's going to be annulled per se in the actual days, but rather the miracles that will happen when Mashiach comes are going to be so great that the miracles that have happened previously are going to feel like almost as if they were annulled. Like what? Like that miracle? Like what just happened to me? Like if somebody goes, try to give this an example. If somebody goes and they almost get mugged, right? But they get saved from it. And they'll be like, wow, you know what happened to me? I almost got mugged. But let's say they were encountered by, and I know it's too soon, but I'm going to go there, by a group of like 10 black Israelites with knives and guns, and they got out of that. Are they going to speak about the time that they almost got mugged by the Puerto Rican? Or, I don't know why I just said that, or are they going to go and they're going to say, like, no, what are you talking about? It's like, I just got saved from a minyan of black Israelites. Like I got just saved from like a group of like like these type of people. Like, where are you going to go? So meaning that once you have something like crazy that happens, the less crazier thing, it's not on your mind anymore. So meaning that when Mashiach comes, the miracles that will happen when Mashiach comes is going to be so significant, so amazing, that all the miracles and all the holidays that we had previously and be like, yeah, that existed and we know and we appreciate it, but like, well, you know what just happened? Like, so you understand the difference of how we are going to go and understand it? So that's what it means. The Bar Benel goes and explains the miracles of Mashiach. There's also another aspect of understanding is that there's going to be
Examples of those miracles?
no. I spoke too soon. I'm going to stick with I don't know. I'll stick with I don't know. I like that answer. I don't know. So my final answer. Okay. So is I don't know. But the truth is I do know. But let's speak about this afterwards. Okay. So now I'm going to get too off topic. So there's also another understanding of this is that you have, when Mashiach comes and in the resurrection of the dead comes, so you're going to have two people. You're going to have two groups of people. You have people that were alive and the people that were resurrected. So one interpretation is that what does it mean that the commandments are going to be annulled? The commandments are going to be annulled for the people that are resurrected, meaning that they died and now they came back to life. For them, different laws, different rules that they have to go through. But the people that were born and were alive the whole time, they have to go and follow the Torah and follow the commandments. So now let's try to understand this. We have this, if you look inside and you look at all the sources, a lot of conflicting information. At one point in time, it says that the commandments are going to be nullified, meaning that there's some opinions that say that the commandments are going to be nullified across the board. Torah is not going to exist the way that exists now. And at some point, the way that we explained it, no, it is going to exist because the Torah says that the Torah will never change. So how do we understand this? But even furthermore, we can take this to another level. We know that in the aspect of the natural world, the Rambam, for example, says, and we see this many sources, that the only difference between the days of Mashiach and the days that we are right now is that there's not going to be a subjugation of the nations, meaning that everything is going to be exactly the same. You're going to sleep, you're going to eat, you're going to have to, everything is going to be back to the same, except for the fact that you're not going to have the subjugation of the nations, you're going to be able to serve God fully. But then at the same point in time, we said there's going to be a tremendous amount of miracles. We know that women are going to give birth and trees will harvest new harvest. The Gemara on Shabbat, page 30b says, on a daily basis. This is going to happen on a daily basis. There's not going to be a waiting period that you have to go through. Everything's going to happen instantly. The trees are going to come out with ready-made cakes and clothing. It's going to come out, sizes 0 through whatever is the sizes that it goes to, 652. I don't know. All right, so you're going to have everything's going to come ready-made from the trees. But how do we understand that? I thought it's regular. I thought nature's supposed to be the same. I thought the only difference is only that there's not going to be a subjugation of the nations. So how do we understand all these conflicting, ideas? So the Shlosh goes and explains like this. It says there's going to be a period. The Shlosh breaks it down to two periods. That there's going to be a period where the Jews are going to be autonomous. Everybody, they're going to be able to follow the Torah. They're going to do whatever they need to do. Regular, but through the course of nature. Then there's going to be another period, and that's going to be the resurrection. Once the resurrection comes, this is going to be completely miraculous. It's going to change completely the laws of nature. And this is really how we understand it. And I've read also that this is not only in two phases, but Mashiach is going to be in multiple phases. How do we understand this? Is that all these conflicting things, that there's going to be, initially, it's going to be exactly the same. It's going to be exactly, phase one, it will be exactly the same, only there's not going to be a subjugation of nations. And then what's going to happen after that? Then it's going to go to stage two. What's stage two? There's not going to be any birth or death, and people are going to live long, like forever lives, whatever it is. And then there's going to be where the commandments are going to be nullified, to a certain extent. So there's going to be certain stages in the way that things, that things happen. And there's something very interesting that, I learned there's something very interesting that you could skip all the stages and go to the fun stage, right? The last stage, where all the miracles will happen. How do you do that? If Mashiach comes early. And if Mashiach comes, while not the last resort, but rather coming in a sense where it's coming because we earned it, then it's going to be able to skip to that last aspect of it, that everything's going to be miraculous. It's going to be, the nature is going to change, the world is going to change, so everything is going to go and go into a different aspect. And this is also how we understand the Torah. It says, in the Midrashim, that the Torah that we study in this world is nothing compared to the Torah that we'll study in the days of Mashiach. What that means is not going to be a new Torah, the way that the Christians want to interpret. There's going to be a New Testament. No. The Torah is going to be exactly the same. But what's going to be a difference? Like we said before, that you're going to open up the Torah and you're going to be able to learn all the deepest secrets that you were never able to understand beforehand. So you're going to be able to learn the secrets of the world. Literally, the secrets of the world are going to be open in front of you. And it says even the simplest Jew will be able to see from one part of the earth to the other part of the earth. Again, is that literally, figuratively? It doesn't matter. Both sides are cool, right? You're going to be able to see from all aspects. Your mind is going to be opened up to the secrets of the Torah. Now, for the final aspect of it, how long will the length of Mashiach stay? How long will Mashiach, be there? So there's none less than 10 opinions. In the Gemara in Sanhedrin, page 99, it says like this. I'll give you all 10. Number 1, it will last 40 years. Number 2, I was thinking about you could choose whatever you want, but the truth is you can't. It's just going to be whatever it's going to be. Number 1, it's going to be 40 years. Number 2, it's going to be 70 years. Number 3, it's going to be 3 generations. Number 4, it's going to be 365 years compared to the years of the solar calendar. Number 5, it's going to be 400 years. Number 6, it's going to be 2,000 years. Number 7, it's going to be the amount of time where God gave the oath that there's never going to be another flood until Mashiach comes. So the amount of time that elapsed since that's how long Mashiach is going to be. Number 8 is going to be from the time of creation until the Mashiach. So however long it was from the beginning of the creation until today when Mizad Mashiach is coming. So you're going to have that time is going to be the days of Mashiach. Number 9 is 7,000 years. And number 10, a whopping number of 365,000 years. That's how long the days of Mashiach is going to be. How, when, and where, what? I don't know. We'll find that. Oh, this brings me to my final point. This is how the Rambam goes and explains it. It says, how will we understand this? How will we see this? We don't know. When it comes, that's when we will see it. That's when we'll understand it. But to say beforehand and what, where, and how, that we don't know.
1,000 years wasn't on the list?
Not in the list, no.
I think the Mount Chal says 1,000, no?
Number 11. We have a new interpretation over here. Let's add it to the list. 1,000.
I think the Mount Chal says it.
It could be. I'm bringing off the 10 main opinions from the Gemara.
And then that last 1,000.
It's like
Right.
And then it's going to add that.
Right. So I'm bringing specifically what the Gemara in Sanhedrin, page 99b says. What happens after that? I was hoping nobody would ask that. So,
365,000 years.
right, you're not worried about that. It's like, who cares what's going to happen when you pay off your mortgage? Like, who's going to be alive by then? So, okay, so no, but everyone should be alive, right? But yeah, we should be careful. So, after Mashiach comes the era called the Olam Haba. The world to come is going to be actually after Mashiach comes. What's going to be with this world? It's a good question, but the simple understanding for it is that it's going to be destroyed. This world, as we know it, will be destroyed. It will return to Tohu Vavohu, to the way that it was beforehand. The souls will live on to a certain extent, but the Mashiach is going to be where both the soul and the body is together. And then the question is, what's going to happen after that, where it's going to be the Olam Haba, the Olam HaNeshamot, the era of you think about it, the reward, the real reward of everything that you accomplish in this world. That's what's going to be after Mashiach comes. How long? A very long time. Infinity squared. That's a thing. Forever. Yeah, this is just like a lot of the information in this shiur, this class is really just more like it's just like information. It's like facts. It's like here it is. You want it, you don't want it, doesn't matter. Right? It's beyond. But what's interesting is that the world is going to be very different. But one thing we understand, and when we look at it, is that the world, the purpose of it all is really that we should serve God, and we should be able. What is the purpose of the serve God? I was speaking to one of my students, and we were, he was like, "But like, what's the point of it all?" He kept on going back to the same point, like, "But what's the point? Like, why do we need all this? Like, what's the point of Mashiach if the evil inclination is not going to be there anymore?" So, I don't know if we spoke about it the last time. We spoke about this many times, in different classes, that whatever you work on right now, you'll be able to work on when Mashiach comes. Mashiach is that era. It's sort of that, I don't want to call it extra credit.
Transition?
It's a transition. Catalyst is also good.
It's going to be easier and faster.
Yes, it's going to be an era where everything that you wanted to accomplish in this world and you could accomplish it over there. But where does that work? Only on things that you started working on now. So if Mashiach comes now, B'ezrat Hashem, Amen, is everything that you've currently worked on until this point, you'll be able to continue working on. But let's say there were some things, everybody would be like, I want the guys, right? So they want to finish Shas, they want to finish the Shulchan Aruch, they want to work on all these things, but they never actually started in it. They're not going to be able to finish it. So the girl aspect, just plug in everything that is that women need to. So you need to go and pray, you need to go and dress modestly. Everything that you wanted to go and work on, if you started working on it now, you could accomplish it to the full extent when Mashiach comes. If you didn't, you can't accomplish it. So Mashiach is that, I guess you could call it a catalyst. You could call it a part to your end goal, to where you have the final end where you're going to be able to go, and you're going to be able to, exactly, perfect word you're going to be able to utilize your full potential during that time. But only things that utilize it now. And everything over here we see, these are things that help it. That's Olam Haba.
And what's the point? Yeah.
The reward.
Infinite reward.
Pleasure?
No, No, but like,
I don't know.
if it's infinite, like, it's not as good.
Oh, very good question. So if it's
Like,
infinite,
knowing that something could use up, it makes it feel better.
right? So that's the way that we know in this world. So the way that it works in this world is that if, let's say, you go, and this is how Rabbi Dessler goes and explains it, that if you go in this world and you are very excited, you're going to go and you're going to, let's say you're a foodie. Is that the right term? Yeah. So let's say you're like obsessed with like delicacies of the of the mouth, I guess. And you go and you decide you're going to go to the most expensive restaurant in the world. I think for the Jewish world is reserve cut. Does that make sense? I don't know. So whatever it is, it's not, because it's probably somewhere in California. So right. So you go and every bite that you take. So the first bite, it's like, oh, it's so delicious. Second bite, it's, oh, it's so delicious. Third bite, you'd be like, I can't believe how much I'm paying for this. Fourth bite, you'd be like, it's all right. And you keep on, as you're eating, it doesn't taste as good as it was the first bite. So what happens that whenever you indulge in this is in any pleasure, whether it's drugs or any forbidden pleasures in this world, the initial is the best, and as you continue along, it gets less and less and less and less. Unless obviously we implement that change aspect of it. But generally you're getting less and less. The way that it works in Olam Haba is it doesn't work that way. That you're going to take, hypothetically speaking, no steak in the next world, right? Whatever, in Olam Haba. But like, let's say you take the first bite of the steak and be like, oh, it's delicious. In the next world, the second bite is going to be even more delicious than the first bite. And the third bite is going to be even more delicious than the third bite. So every second that you are in Olam Haba, it gets better and better and better and better and better. Until forever. We can't understand that concept because we live in a finite universe. Yeah, we're incumbent by space and time. So we cannot understand in infinite space we even have a hard time understanding it. And infinite time we also have a hard time understanding it. But what's going to be there is that every pleasure is going to be greater than the pleasure beforehand. It should be situation. It's something that we can't exist or live on this world. We don't anticipate. We can't understand it. That's what the next world is. Okay. So now, any more questions on this thing? Yeah.
So you mentioned that we would be, when Mashiach comes, we would be using our full potential. So you know how there's, I don't know where I heard it, but you know how they say that the brain, you don't use your whole brain. So is that included in it?
It's so funny. I had a guy yesterday that asked me the same exact thing. He says, I'm going to be using more than 10% of my brain. And I said, I hope you use more than 10% now. Because I don't know if is that a thing? Is that a thing that people only use 10% of the brain? Yeah. Is that people that play video games or everybody? Drug addicts or everybody only use 10%?
No, everybody. That just shows how much capacity.
Oh, it's a CPU usage is only 10%. But he asked me the same thing. It's very interesting. But I would assume that, yeah, you probably use more. I mean, will you? No, I've never seen anywhere that's going to be that you can be like the next world. Yes, the next world. The way that you get around it is there's no wings, but I'm saying okay, I shouldn't speak like that. But you can fly in Gan Eden, for example. You can. That's how you you move around. But in Mashiach days, I've never seen anywhere that there's flying or sprout some wings and you're going to carry a broomstick. I don't know. None of those stuff. Yeah.
So I have a question. Will we be bringing carbonos?
Yes. 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 1,000 times yes. There will be carbonos. You will have to. There was many big rabbis that they used to keep track of what carbonos they have to bring when Mashiach comes.
But if we're not sinning,
initially, so again, it's going to be initially you're going to bring it, right? It's going to be phases. Initially you will, and then eventually it'll come points. Well, yeah, you're right. It'll be carbon total. Maybe there's different carbonos that's not only based on sinning, or not only carbon hadat that you have to bring. Yes.
So okay, doesn't it say that 2/3 of the world is going to be killed, and the Jewish people, if you have chesed and Torah, that's your
possible outcome. Correct.
So does that mean that if you're an observant Jew, with those two things on top of it, you survive? Like what if, I know Shabbat is one, but what if you're not modest, and what if you're not doing certain things that a lot of people are doing? That's because I know a lot of people that do tons of chesed, and they're not the most, observant in the technical. And I know a lot of people that learn Torah also, men, and they also are not the most observant.
Right, so the question is, what makes you get into the cut of the living versus the dead? And I'll tell you the simplest understanding that we have. You listen to the Torah. So Torah and Chesed is yes, but when the Gemara says that you have to learn Torah and Chesed, and that's how you're going to go and survive the end of days, that doesn't just mean that you're learning Torah. That means that you're following the Torah as well.
But you have
So
to do all the mitzvot in order.
ideally, the simple understanding that I will see it is yes. Yeah, you have to keep everything. You don't pick and choose. However, I'm not God, and I don't know what God decided and what God will do. But the simple understanding of it is yes. Very simply, if you go and if you want to make it to the end of the day, then yes, you have to keep the Torah, you have to keep the mitzvot, you have to be modest, you have to keep Shabbat, you have to keep all these things that you have to do according to halakha, and then you'll make it. You want to risk it and say, okay, if it's not even 2/3, it's more 20%. It's really 20. 2/3 is the world, but 20% of the Jewish nation. Right, the Goyim. So that if you look at the Jewish nation, it's a fifth. And that fifth is 20%. If you want to risk and be like, well, I think I'll make the cut, because I gave $2 million to charity this past year. Be like, maybe and maybe not. Are you willing to risk it? Is cartoon so important to you on Saturday, or is your phone so important to you? Is Bejeweled, whatever? What did I just say? Candy Crush. Is Candy Crush so important to you on Shabbat, or it's I know I need to figure something else. I'm sorry. I know the guys play something called Fortnite. Thank you. I don't know what that is. I'm still not sure if that's like a puzzle game or a building game or a destruction game. But destruction. Very good. It's horror. A war. So so if somebody goes and decides that instead of keeping Shabbat, he's going to go and he's going to play Fortnite and he's going to go and destroy worlds, then may God be with. I mean, I don't know. Like, I wish him only the best, But the simple understanding is, you have to follow the Torah. If you want to be on it, I wouldn't go and take the risk. But I did this. Like, you want to do to the best that you can. Successful people don't go based off their minimum.
I feel like a lot of people don't know.
That is true. A lot of people have a lack of knowledge, and a lot of people don't want to know also at the same point. The knowledge is out there. The question is, do they want to go and listen to it, or do they want to continue their life? So yes, there's a lot of different aspects of it. And again, we're not God, and we don't decide, but the simple understanding is that you have to go and keep the Torah. That's the simple understanding in it. Yes?
You said that Mashiach is going to be how it was before the Yitzadas, but wasn't that an in-between point between the Yitzadas and Yitzchak?
The way that it was before Eitzadas is, so the Adam HaRishon was only not allowed to eat from the Eitzadas. There was, only afterwards was there an issue with the Eitz Chaim. So it wasn't like it was a middle point, but there was no need for the Eitzadas was the main thing. That Adam at that point was living internally. He had angels working for him. He didn't have to do any, he was living in a utopian, era. Afterwards is where the destruction came. There wasn't like 3 periods, like before the sin, Eitzadas sin, and Eitz Chaim. There was no it was really before the sin and after the sin. That's really how you break it up. There's only there's 2 eras. So the way that we go here is before that sin. Does that make more sense?
No, because I learned that he had a choice between choosing knowledge, which was death, and Chayim.
Yes, by not eating from it, not eating from the Eitz Chaim. It's specifically saying by not. He had a commandment to eat from all the other trees, but not to eat from one tree. Meaning that all he had to do was not do one thing. He didn't have to eat from the Eitz Chaim in order to live forever. He had to just not do one thing, not eat from the Eitzadas. Does that make more sense now? Okay. No further questions, Your Honor? Okay, so now